Hello again, welcome back. Mencius was a very powerful philosopher. He's ranked next to Confucius in China. Of course, with other rivals, and this is arguable, you can argue for the next series of weeks, but Mencius is ranked right next to Confucius, period. Arguably so. I mean, you could argue and say there are others. There's Lao Tzu, you can argue so many kinds of philosophers. China is a whole world, but Mencius is ranked after Confucius. So Mencius, during his time as a very great scholar, he had the capability of advising even the emperor of China. And this resulted in several of his writings, some of which I'm going to read to you right now. It says, Mencius declared, "It is not to be wondered at that the king is not wise." It is not to be wondered at that the king is not wise. 2. Suppose the case of the most easily growing thing in the world. If you let it have one day's genial heat, and then expose it for 10 days to the cold, it will not be able to grow. 1 day's genial heat, and then you expose it to cold, it can't grow. It is but seldom that I have an audience of the king. It is but seldom that I have an audience of the king. And when I retire, Mencius said, there come all those who act upon him like the cold. Though I succeed in bringing out some buds of goodness, of what avail is it? Right? The king has an opportunity to see Mencius, the great oracle, the great scholar. And then after that, a lot of corrupt people, a lot of idiots and fools, and all kinds of corrupt ideas begin to circulate around the king again. So what's the point? Right? You have a shower and then you jump back into the fields and rub yourself on the ground. Why even bother having a shower? See, that's the point. That's what Mencius is saying. I come to the king and advise him and give him good advice, brilliant advice, bring him back to intelligence and back to deep thinking and back to moral principles and righteousness. As soon as he finishes his conference with Mencius, Mencius walks away from the emperor's palace. Every other corrupt person comes in with their corruptions and all their strategies and all their businesses and everything that is all immoral and everything that is contrary to reason. What do you want the king to do? That's what Mencius is saying. 3. Now, chess playing is but a small art. Chess playing is but a small art. But without his whole mind being given, and his will bent to it, a man cannot succeed at it. Mencius is the best chess player in all the kingdom. Suppose that he is teaching 2 men to play chess. One of them gives to the subject his whole mind and bends to it all his will, fully concentrating, doing nothing but listening to Mencius. The other student, although he seems to be listening to Mencius, his whole mind is running on a swan. So he's distracted. His mind is running on something else, on a swan, which he thinks is approaching. You can see a wild goose, some swan approaching. And he wishes to bend his bow, adjust his arrow, the string to the arrow, and shoot the swan. Although he's in class, although he's learning along with the other student, he does not come up to him in class. Why? Because his intelligence is not equal? Not so. I conclude personally, simply is distracted. Mencius is concluded, but I'm now certainly commenting. So you have one student in class concentrating and putting his whole mind on the subject. Another student is distracting, thinking about hunting, how he's going to hunt later or how he hunted yesterday. His mind has wandered off to something else. Now, they are both of equal intelligence, but the student whose mind has wandered off to something else does not catch up in class because it's not concentrating. That's what Mencius is saying. So even though the king listens to Mencius, the king loves Mencius as the oracle of China, as the repository of wisdom of China, the great advisor to the emperor of China after Confucius. He listens to Mencius. Mencius advises him on what's going to be good for the kingdom. He gets the best advice in the whole kingdom. He agrees, this is what we're really going to do. Yes, this is the way we're going to take. As soon as Mencius walks out of the palace of the emperor, all the contrary minds and all the stupid people and all the retarded people, all the corrupt people and every other unsightly person walks in with their agendas. It's the distraction Mencius is saying. So the emperor cannot just go right, because he has the right strategy. He knows what is right for the nation. He has the best ideas. He was just briefed and advised by a solid man, such a great man as Mencius. But as soon as Mencius left the place, everything evil and corrupt and unsightly comes back in again. What do you want the king to do? That's what Mencius is saying. I don't blame the king, right? He can't follow the right standards because there's too much pressure on him. Everything that's unsightly comes right back. So a student that is not concentrating in class will never do well as a student who gives all his mind and all his will, fully concentrates on a subject. The student who fully concentrates on a subject will do better than a distracted student. This is my analysis of the philosophy of Mencius on this king not being very wise issue. I leave these things to your deliberation. Those of you who are interested in cultivating the wisdom, cheers and have a pleasant day.